The coffee shop smelled like burnt espresso and broken dreams. Maya Martinez had worked the morning shift at Riverside Café for 3 years, long enough to know which customers tipped and which ones complained about everything. Long enough to recognize the regulars by their orders before they reached the counter. Long enough to move through her routine with the kind of muscle memory that required no thought, no sound, just the quiet efficiency of someone who'd learned to navigate the world without speaking. She couldn't speak. Hadn't been able to since the accident when she was 7, the one that took her parents and left her with a damaged larynx, and a grandmother who'd raised her with fierce determination and limited resources. Now, at 24, Maya had built a life around her silence. ASL for communication, text messages for everything else, and a job that let her exist on the periphery of other people's noise. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The robbery started like something out of a bad movie. 3 men burst through the door at 10:47 a.m., right between the morning rush and lunch crowd. Only 6 customers scattered throughout the cafe, including the businessman at table 4 who came every Tuesday for a double shot Americano and always left exactly 15% tip. Maya was wiping down the espresso machine when the first gunshot punched through the ceiling. Everyone dropped. Screams filled the space, high and terrified, but Maya's world went even quieter than usual. She couldn't scream, couldn't call for help, could only press herself against the floor behind the counter, her heart slamming so hard against her ribs she thought it might break through. "Nobody moves, nobody dies," the lead gunman shouted. His voice was rough, unpracticed, like he'd watched too many heist films and decided this was his ticket out of whatever hole he dug himself into. "We just want the money. That's it. Give us the money and we're gone." Maya's coworker, Jessica, was sobbing somewhere near the register. The sound was wet and broken, punctuated by hiccuping breaths. Through the gap beneath the counter, Maya could see the gunman's feet moving through the cafe. Heavy boots, dark jeans. One of them was limping slightly. "You," the leader barked. Behind the counter. "Get up. Open the register." Jessica's crying intensified. Maya heard her stumble to her feet, heard the register drawer slam open with its familiar electronic ding that now sounded obscene in the silence. "What else you got? There's got to be a safe." "I don't have the combination," Jessica stammered. "Only the manager, and she's not here until—" The sound of a hand striking flesh. Jessica's cry of pain. Maya's hands curled into fists against the tile floor, her whole body trembling with adrenaline and helplessness. "Find it," a second voice demanded, younger than the first. More nervous. "Check the office." Footsteps thundered toward the back. Maya knew she should stay down, should stay hidden, should do absolutely nothing to draw attention to herself. But Jessica was still crying, and Maya could hear her ragged breathing getting worse, the kind of hyperventilating that preceded passing out. She couldn't just hide. Moving slowly, Maya raised her head just enough to peer over the counter. Her eyes met Jessica's terrified gaze. Blood trickled from her coworker's split lip. The lead gunman stood with his back to Maya, his attention focused on the customers. He'd herded into the center of the cafe. Maya signed quickly, her hands moving with the precise gestures she'd been using since childhood. "Breathe. Slowly. In and out." Jessica blinked, confusion cutting through her terror. She didn't know ASL, but the gesture, the deliberate breathing motion Maya demonstrated, seemed to penetrate her panic. She sucked in a shaky breath, then another. That's when the third gunman noticed Maya. "Hey!" He swung his weapon toward her. "I said nobody moves." Maya's hands came up automatically, palms out in a universal gesture of surrender. Her heart rate spiked, but she kept her face as calm as possible. Getting shot because she tried to help Jessica breathe would be a stupid way to die. "Get up," the gunman ordered. "Slowly. With the others." Maya rose carefully, her hands still visible, and started to move from behind the counter. That's when she saw him. A man sitting alone at the corner table, completely still while chaos erupted around him. He hadn't dropped to the floor like the others, hadn't scrambled for cover or cowered against the wall. He simply sat, a cup of black coffee cooling in front of him, and watched the scene unfold with the detached interest of someone observing a mildly interesting theater production. Everything about him radiated control. From his perfectly tailored charcoal suit to his dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. His hands rested on the table, relaxed, no tension in his shoulders despite 3 armed men actively robbing the establishment. But it was his eyes that caught Maya. Gray eyes, cold and calculating, tracking every movement, cataloging every detail. When his gaze shifted to her, the impact was physical. A jolt of recognition, except they'd never met. She would have remembered. The gunman grabbed Maya's arm, yanking her roughly from behind the counter. She stumbled, catching herself against a table, and that's when everything went wrong. One of the customers, the businessman from table 4, made a break for the door. The lead gunman spun, fired, missed. The bullet shattered the front window, sending glass exploding across the sidewalk. The businessman kept running, and suddenly all 3 gunmen were shouting, their coordination dissolving into panic. "Get him! Forget him, we gotta go! The safe! We need the—" Maya's survival instinct kicked in. She dove behind the nearest table, making herself as small as possible. Around her, customers were screaming again, scrambling for cover. Jessica had dropped back behind the counter, still sobbing. Then a voice cut through the chaos. Quiet, but with enough authority that everyone froze. "That's enough!" The man from the corner table stood. He moved with unhurried precision, buttoning his suit jacket as if preparing for a business meeting rather than confronting 3 armed criminals. The morning light from the shattered window caught on something at his hip, a glimpse of polished metal that Maya's brain catalogued as a weapon, even though she'd never seen a gun up close before today. "Who the hell are you?" the lead gunman demanded, swinging his weapon toward the man in the suit. "Someone you don't want to threaten." The words were delivered with the calm certainty of absolute fact. "Put the guns down. Walk away. Consider this your only warning." The lead gunman laughed, but it sounded forced. "You think you're going to stop all 3 of us?" "I know I am." What happened next took less than 10 seconds. The man moved like water, smooth and inevitable. His hand blurred to his hip, and suddenly he was armed. The lead gunman didn't even get his finger to the trigger before a shot rang out, precisely aimed at the gun in his hand. The weapon clattered to the floor, and the man was screaming, clutching his bleeding hand. The second gunman tried to bring his weapon up. Another shot, another scream, another gun hitting the ground. The third gunman was smarter. He dropped his weapon and raised his hands, his face sheet white. "Good choice," the man in the suit said. He moved forward, his gun never wavering, and kicked the dropped weapons away from the injured men. "All of you on the ground. Hands behind your heads." They obeyed with the frantic compliance of people who just realized how badly they'd miscalculated. Maya watched from behind her table, her whole body shaking with adrenaline. The man pulled out his phone, made a brief call in Italian, his voice too low for Maya to catch the words. Then his eyes swept the cafe, checking on the customers, and landed on her. He moved toward her, and Maya's first instinct was to scramble back. But something in his expression stopped her. Concern. Real, genuine concern that seemed at odds with the clinical efficiency with which he just disarmed 3 men. "Are you hurt?" He crouched beside her table, his weapon now holstered, his full attention on her face. Maya shook her head, then realized he was looking at her arm where the gunman had grabbed her. Her sleeve had torn, and a bruise was already forming on her upper arm, dark against her brown skin. The man's jaw tightened. "Did they touch you anywhere else?" She shook her head again, more firmly this time. Then, because she needed him to understand, she pointed to her throat and shook her head once more. The universal gesture she developed over years of explaining her condition to strangers. Understanding flickered in those gray eyes. "You can't speak." Maya nodded, relieved he'd grasped it so quickly. She pulled out her phone, typed quickly, and showed him the screen. "Thank you. You saved us." He read the message, and something shifted in his expression. Softened, maybe, though the change was so subtle Maya might have imagined it. "What's your name?" She typed again. "Maya Martinez." "Maya." He said it carefully, as if testing the weight of it. "I'm Dante Caruso. The police will be here soon. Are you able to give a statement?" She nodded, then typed. "I can write it down." Good. He stood, offering her his hand. Maya hesitated for only a second before taking it. His grip was warm, steady, and helped pull her to her feet with effortless strength. Around them, the cafe was chaos. Jessica had emerged from behind the counter, still crying but mobile. The other customers were checking on each other, phones out, everyone talking at once. Outside, sirens wailed, growing closer. But Dante Caruso kept his attention on Maya, his hand still holding hers though she was upright now. "You were brave," he said quietly, "trying to help your coworker when you should have stayed hidden." Heat flooded Maya's face. She pulled her hand free and typed rapidly. "I wasn't brave. I was stupid. Could have gotten myself killed." Brave and stupid aren't mutually exclusive. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "But in this case, I'd say more brave than stupid." The police burst through the door, weapons drawn, voices demanding everyone show their hands. Dante raised his smoothly, his movements careful and unthreatening. One of the officers recognized him immediately. "Mr. Caruso, we got a call about a robbery." 3 men, all disarmed and subdued. Dante gestured to where the would-be robbers were still prone on the floor, one bleeding from his hand, all 3 looking like they desperately regretted their life choices. "They'll need medical attention before booking." The officer's expression shifted to something like respect mixed with wariness. "We'll handle it from here." More police flooded in, along with paramedics. Maya found herself separated from Dante as a female officer guided her to a quiet corner to take her statement. She typed everything out on her phone, the officer reading over her shoulder and taking notes. But even while giving her account, Maya's attention kept drifting to where Dante stood talking with what appeared to be a detective. The detective was deferential, almost careful in how he addressed Dante. Like he was someone important, someone with power. Who was he? Not just a businessman who happened to be having coffee. The way he'd moved, the precision of his shots, the immediate response of the police, it all suggested something more. Something Maya probably shouldn't be curious about, but absolutely was. An hour later, after statements had been taken and paramedics had checked everyone over, the cafe was finally clearing out. Jessica had been taken to the hospital for observation. The manager had arrived, surveyed the damage with horrified eyes, and immediately closed for the day. Maybe longer. Maya sat on a bench outside, wrapped in a blanket a paramedic had insisted she take despite not being injured beyond the bruise on her arm. Her hands were still shaking. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her exhausted and slightly nauseous. "Maya." She looked up to find Dante standing before her. He'd removed his suit jacket at some point. His white shirt was pristine despite everything that had happened, sleeves rolled to his elbows revealing forearms that were corded with lean muscle. "The detective says you're free to go." He studied her face. "Do you have someone who can drive you home? You shouldn't be alone after something like this." Maya pulled out her phone. "My grandmother works until 5. I can take the bus." Dante's expression darkened. "Absolutely not. I'll drive you." She blinked at him, surprised by the firmness of the offer. She typed, "You don't have to do that. I'm fine." "You're shaking." He said it gently, but with the same authority he'd used telling the gunman to stand down. "And you just experienced a traumatic event. I'm not letting you take public transportation alone. Where do you live?" Maya hesitated. She'd been raised to be cautious, especially around men she didn't know. But something about Dante made her want to trust him. Maybe it was the way he'd protected everyone in the cafe. Maybe it was how his eyes softened when he looked at her. Maybe she was just too shaken to think clearly. She typed her address. Dante read it and nodded. "Not far. My car is this way." He led her to a black Mercedes parked 2 blocks away. The interior was leather and luxury, the kind of car Maya had only ever seen in magazines. Dante opened the passenger door for her, waited until she was settled, then moved around to. The driver sighed with fluid grace. The drive was quiet. Maya watched the city pass outside her window, her mind replaying the robbery in fragmented flashes. The gunshots, the blood, the way Dante had moved with lethal precision. "You handled that very well." Dante's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Most people freeze during high-stress situations. You kept your head." Maya pulled out her phone to respond but paused. What could she say? That she'd spent her whole life adapting to situations where she couldn't communicate normally. That silence had taught her to observe, to think before acting. She typed, "I work in customer service. I'm used to staying calm when people are unreasonable." This was just more extreme. A short laugh escaped him, genuine and warm. That's one way to describe armed robbery. More extreme customer service. Despite everything, Maya smiled. It felt strange, wrong almost, to find humor so soon after such violence. But the smile came anyway, small and tentative. They pulled up outside her apartment building, a converted brownstone in a neighborhood that was transitioning from rough to gentrified, not quite achieving either state. Maya reached for the door handle, but Dante was already out, moving around to open her door with old-fashioned courtesy that felt anachronistic and somehow perfect. "Thank you," she typed, showing him the screen. "For everything. For saving us. For the ride." "You're welcome." He pulled a card from his wallet, pressing it into her hand. "My number. If you need anything, even just to talk about what happened today, call or text me." Maya looked at the card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering. Dante Caruso, Private Acquisitions. No other information except a phone number. "What do you acquire?" She typed the question before she could stop herself. His smile was enigmatic. "Things of value. Artifacts, mostly. Art. Items that people want kept discreet." Not quite a lie, but not the whole truth either. Maya could sense the careful omission, the story beneath the story. But she didn't push. Whatever Dante really did, he'd saved her life today. That counted for something. "Thank you again," she typed. Then, because she felt like she should say something more, she added, "You were incredible in there. Like something out of a movie." "Not a movie. Just experience." He studied her for a moment, his expression serious. "Maya, what happened today? Those men were amateurs. Desperate, unpracticed. But you were still in real danger. I want you to be careful. Take different routes to work for a while. Pay attention to your surroundings. And if you ever feel unsafe, you call me. Immediately. Understood?" The protectiveness in his voice sent warmth spreading through her chest. She nodded, clutching his card like a talisman. "Good." He seemed reluctant to leave, his gaze lingering on her face. "Take care of yourself, Maya Martinez." She watched him drive away, the Mercedes disappearing into afternoon traffic. Only then did she realize she was still holding the card he'd given her, her thumb tracing the embossed letters of his name. Inside her apartment, the silence felt different. Not peaceful like usual, but heavy with unasked questions and a strange, fluttering anticipation she couldn't quite name. Her grandmother wouldn't be home for hours. Maya made tea, the familiar ritual grounding her, and sat at their small kitchen table. The cafe would be closed for at least a few days while they repaired the window and dealt with insurance. She should probably look for temporary work, pick up shifts somewhere else. Money was always tight. But instead of job hunting, she found herself looking at Dante's card again. Pulling up her phone, typing a message she probably shouldn't send. "This is Maya. Just wanted to let you know I got home safe. Thank you again for everything." She hit send before she could overthink it. The response came less than a minute later. "I'm glad. Get some rest. And remember what I said. Anything you need, call me." Maya stared at the message, reading it 3 times. She should probably be wary of a man who could disarm 3 gunmen without breaking a sweat. Should question why someone like him had been in that cafe at that exact moment. Should wonder what private acquisitions really meant and why the police had treated him with such deference. But all she could think about was the way he looked at her. The genuine concern in his eyes. The protectiveness in his voice when he told her to be careful. She saved his number under Dante Caruso and set her phone aside, trying to convince herself that this was just gratitude. That the strange pull she felt toward him was simply the normal human response to someone who'd saved her life. She didn't quite believe it. The cafe remained closed for 5 days. Maya picked up shifts at a bakery across town, early mornings that had her rising before dawn and arriving home after dark. The extra income helped, but the schedule was grueling. Her grandmother worried, making pointed comments about Maya working too hard, needing rest, should be focusing on finishing her degree instead of juggling multiple jobs. Maya knew she was right. She'd been taking night classes for 3 years, slowly working toward a degree in library sciences. At this rate, she graduates sometime around her 30th birthday. But school cost money. Living cost money. And without parents or trust funds or any safety net beyond her grandmother's Social Security check, Maya did what she had to do. On the 6th day, her manager called. The cafe was reopening. Could Maya come in for the afternoon shift? She could. She did. Arriving at 1 p.m. to find the front window replaced, the interior scrubbed clean of any evidence that violence had occurred here less than a week ago. Jessica was back too, quieter than before, a fading bruise on her cheek, but otherwise functional. You okay? Maya signed to her. Jessica nodded, though her smile was fragile. Getting there. You. Maya gave her a thumbs up. Fine. Mostly fine. Fine except for the nightmares that had her waking up in cold sweats, replaying gunshots and blood, and the terrible helplessness of not being able to scream for help. Fine except for the way her heart jumped every time her phone buzzed, hoping it might be Dante, even though he had no reason to contact her again. The afternoon passed normally. Customers ordered coffee, complained about prices, left tips or didn't. The world had moved on from the robbery, relegating it to a paragraph in the local news website, a statistical blip in the city's crime reports. Maya was closing the register at 8 p.m. when the door chimed. She looked up automatically, her practiced smile ready and froze. Dante Caruso stood in the doorway, and somehow he made the casual cafe seem smaller just by entering it. He was dressed less formally today, dark jeans, and a black sweater that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent, but the effect was the same. Controlled power, dangerous elegance, the kind of presence that made everyone else in the room fade into background noise. His eyes found her immediately, and the relief that crossed his face was so genuine it made her chest ache. Maya. He approached the counter, and she was struck again by how he moved, economical grace that suggested both violence and restraint. I was hoping you'd be working today. She pulled out her phone with trembling fingers. You came to check on me? I came for coffee. The lie was delivered with a straight face. But yes, I also came to check on you. How are you doing? She typed. Better. Nightmares, but that's normal, right? After something like that? His expression darkened. Unfortunately, yes. Are you getting enough sleep? Define enough. More than 4 hours a night. She made a non-committal gesture that wasn't quite agreement or denial. Dante's jaw tightened. Maya, can I get you something? She typed quickly, needing to redirect the conversation before his concern undid her completely. Coffee. Food. We have fresh pastries. He studied her for a long moment, clearly debating whether to push. Finally, he nodded. Black coffee. And whatever pastry you recommend. She made his coffee exactly how she'd watched him drink it that day, strong and black, nothing added. Selected a chocolate croissant from the display case because it was her favorite, and somehow that seemed like the right choice. When she set both in front of him, his fingers brushed hers as he reached for the cup. The contact sent electricity up her arm. Dante felt it too. She could tell by the way his eyes widened fractionally, the slight catch in his breath. Join me. He gestured to a table. If you're allowed breaks. Maya glanced at her manager, who'd been watching the interaction with barely concealed interest. At her questioning look, the manager nodded. Take 15. It's slow anyway. Maya grabbed her own coffee and followed Dante to a corner booth, hyper-aware of his presence beside her. Up close, she could see details she'd missed before. A small scar above his left eyebrow. The way his hands, capable of such precise violence, handled the coffee cup with surprising gentleness. The slight shadow of stubble along his jaw that suggested he'd been up for hours despite it only being evening. I've been thinking about you. He said it simply, no games or pretense. Wondering how you were coping. Whether the nightmares were bad. Whether you were taking care of yourself. Heat flooded Maya's face. She typed, Why? You don't even know me. I'd like to. He held her gaze, his expression sincere. If you're open to that. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Open to what, exactly? Getting to know each other. Starting with dinner, maybe. Somewhere nicer than a cafe. A slight smile touched his lips. Though this cafe will always hold special significance for me now. Maya's fingers hovered over her phone. Every rational part of her brain was screaming warnings. She knew nothing about this man except that he was dangerous, connected, and operated in spaces she didn't understand. Getting involved with him would be complicated at best, potentially catastrophic at worst. But she'd been safe her whole life. Careful, quiet, making smart choices that kept her small and protected and utterly, crushingly lonely. And for once, just once, she wanted to say yes to something that scared her. She typed, "Okay." Dante's smile transformed his face. "Saturday night. I'll pick you up at 7. "Okay," she typed again, because apparently that was the only response she was capable of producing. They finished their coffee in comfortable silence, and Maya marveled at how natural it felt. Most people were uncomfortable with silence, especially around her. They'd fill the space with nervous chatter, asking questions about her condition, making assumptions. But Dante seemed perfectly content to just be, his presence steady and grounding. When she returned to work, her manager caught her eye and grinned. "That's the man from the robbery, isn't it? The one who saved everyone." Maya nodded. "He's gorgeous, and clearly interested. Please tell me you're going out with him." Maya pulled out her phone. "Saturday." "Good." Her manager's expression turned serious. "But be careful, okay? Men who can do what he did, who get that kind of respect from police, they're usually involved in things that don't always stay legal." Maya knew that, had known it from the moment Dante moved with lethal precision to disarm 3 men. But she also knew that he'd been gentle with her. Concerned. Real in a way that felt too genuine to be manipulation. She'd be careful. But she was still going to say yes. Saturday arrived with autumn chill and golden afternoon light. Maya changed outfits 4 times before settling on a navy dress that was the nicest thing she owned, simple but elegant, with a neckline that showed the delicate silver necklace her grandmother had given her for her 21st birthday. Her grandmother watched the preparation with knowing eyes. "This must be some man to get you this worked up." Maya signed quickly. "He's just someone I met. The one who saved you during the robbery." It wasn't a question. Maya had told her grandmother everything, or almost everything. She'd left out the part about Dante's number, about the way her heart raced when she thought of him. "Be careful, Mija." Her grandmother touched Maya's cheek with worn, gentle hands. "Men with that kind of power, they're complicated. They bring complications." Maya knew. She kissed her grandmother's forehead and tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. Dante arrived exactly at 7, emerging from his Mercedes in a charcoal suit that made him look like he'd stepped out of an Italian fashion magazine. He carried a bouquet of white roses, their petals perfect and pristine. "For you." He handed them to her with a smile that made her knees weak. "You look beautiful, Maya." She accepted the flowers, warmth flooding her chest at the gesture. No one had ever brought her flowers before. She held up one finger, asking him to wait, and darted inside to put them in water and grab her coat. Her grandmother appeared in the doorway as they were leaving, her expression assessing as she looked Dante up and down. He met her gaze calmly, respectfully, and something must have passed between them because her grandmother nodded slightly. "Have her home by midnight," she said in accented English. "Earlier if she wishes." Dante's response was equally formal. "You have my word she'll be safe." In the car, Maya pulled out her phone. "My grandmother just gave you her approval. That's not easy to earn." "I'm honored." He glanced at her as he pulled into traffic. "Though I meant what I said. Your safety is my priority tonight and always." Always. The word hung in the air between them, weighted with implication. They drove to a restaurant. In the historic district, the kind of place with valet parking and waiters in white gloves. Maya felt immediately out of place despite her best dress, but Dante's hand at the small of her back steadied her as they entered. The maitre d' greeted Dante by name, leading them to a private table in a corner alcove with soft lighting and fresh orchids. Wine appeared without being ordered. Menus in Italian that Maya couldn't begin to decipher. "Do you trust me?" Dante asked, watching her stare at the incomprehensible menu. She nodded. "Then let me order for both of us. But if there's anything you can't eat, tell me now." She typed, "I'm not picky, and I like trying new things." His smile was warm. "Good. I think you'll enjoy this." The meal that followed was extraordinary. Course after course of flavors Maya had never experienced. each dish presented like art. Dante explained what everything was, watching her reactions with obvious pleasure. Between courses, they talked. Or rather, he talked and she typed responses that became longer and more animated as the evening progressed. He asked about her life, her dreams, why she worked at a cafe instead of pursuing library sciences full-time. She found herself being honest, explaining about her parents' death, her grandmother's sacrifices, the financial realities that shaped every decision she made. "You could have more," Dante said quietly. "You're clearly intelligent, talented. There are programs, scholarships," she interrupted with rapid typing. "That's easy to say when you have money, when you've never had to choose between textbooks and rent, between school and helping your grandmother buy her medications. The system isn't built for people like me." "You're right." He didn't argue or make excuses. "I apologize. I spoke from privilege." The acknowledgement surprised her. Most people got defensive when she pointed out their advantages. She typed, "Tell me about you. What you really do. Not the PR version." Dante leaned back, studying her with those penetrating gray eyes. "What do you think I do? Something that requires you to carry a gun. Something that makes police treat you with respect and wariness. Something that operates in gray areas." She held his gaze. "Am I close?" "Very." He didn't deny any of it. "My family has businesses, some legitimate, some less so. I handle the less so. Acquisitions that wealthy people want done discreetly. Art that may have complicated ownership histories. Artifacts that governments would prefer stay hidden. I negotiate. I facilitate. I make problems disappear. And the gun. Insurance. In my world, power is currency, and sometimes that power needs to be demonstrated." His expression was serious. "I won't lie to you, Maya. What I do isn't always legal. The people I deal with can be dangerous. But I have rules. Lines I don't cross. Children are off limits. Innocents are protected. And I never hurt anyone who doesn't threaten what's mine first." Maya should have been frightened. Should have seen the confession for the warning it was. Instead, she felt something else entirely. Drawn to his honesty. Fascinated by the complexity of a man who could be lethal and gentle in equal measure. She typed, "Why tell me all this? You could have lied." "Because I want you to know who I am." He reached across the table, his hand covering hers. "Because if we continue seeing each other, you deserve to understand what you're getting into. The complications, the dangers, the reality of my life. And if I want to continue anyway," his expression shifted, heat flickering in those gray eyes, "then I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe, to keep the dangerous parts of my world away from you. And I'll count myself the luckiest man alive that someone like you chose someone like me." Maya's breath caught. The intensity of his words, the sincerity behind them, it was overwhelming in the best way. She pulled her hand free and typed quickly, "I want to continue. I want to know you. The real you. Not despite the complications, but including them." "Maya, I've spent my whole life being careful," she typed, the words pouring out faster than she could second-guess them. "Playing it safe, being quiet and invisible. And I'm tired of it. You make me feel seen, Dante. Really seen. Not pitted or dismissed or reduced to my disability. Just seen. So yes, I want to continue. Whatever this is. I want it." For a long moment, Dante just looked at her, something fierce and possessive burning in his expression. Then he stood, moved around the table, and crouched beside her chair, bringing himself to her eye level. "I'm going to kiss you now," he said quietly. "If that's not what you want, stop me." Maya didn't stop him. His lips met hers gently at first, testing, asking permission. She answered by sliding her fingers into his hair, pulling him closer. The kiss deepened, his hand cradling her face with surprising tenderness for someone capable of such violence. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "You're extraordinary," he whispered. "Absolutely extraordinary." Maya typed one-handed, her other hand still tangled in his hair. "So are you." They left the restaurant shortly after, the evening having transformed into something that felt too intimate for public space. In the car, Dante held her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm that sent shivers up her arm. "I want to see you again," he said as they approached her building. Tomorrow. And the day after. Every day, if you'll let me. She typed, I work most days. Cafe in the mornings. Bakery some afternoons. Then I'll come to the cafe. Have coffee. Watch you work. He smiled. I've become quite fond of that cafe anyway. He walked her to her door, another gesture of old-fashioned courtesy. On the steps, he kissed her again, slower this time, thorough and claiming. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with restrained desire. Sleep well, Maya Martinez. Dream of me. She watched him drive away, her fingers touching her lips where she could still feel the pressure of his kiss. Inside, her grandmother was waiting, her expression knowing. That good, huh? Maya nodded, unable to keep the smile from her face. Just remember, Mija. Men like that, they bring their world with them. Make sure you're ready for it. Maya was ready, or she thought she was. She had no idea how drastically her life was about to change. How the complications Dante had warned about were already in motion. How choosing him meant choosing everything that came with him, the danger and the passion, and the terrible, beautiful intensity of loving someone who operated outside the law. But standing in her grandmother's tiny apartment, still feeling the ghost of Dante's kiss on her lips, Maya knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever came next, she wouldn't trade this feeling for all the safety in the world. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of stolen moments and accelerating intimacy. Dante kept his promise, appearing at the cafe nearly every day, always ordering the same black coffee, always watching Maya work with an intensity that made her skin flush warm despite the autumn chill seeping through the repaired window. Their routine developed organically. He'd arrive mid-morning, claim the corner table that had become unofficially his, and work on his laptop while she moved through her shift. During her breaks, she'd join him, their conversations conducted through her rapid typing and his patient reading, punctuated by smiles that felt like secrets shared in a crowded room. He took her to dinner 3 more times. A Thai restaurant where he ordered in flawless Thai and laughed at her expression of surprise. An underground jazz club where live music vibrated through her chest and his arm around her shoulders felt like the safest place in the world. A cooking class where they made fresh pasta together and his hands covering hers to demonstrate proper technique sent heat pooling low in her belly. Between dates, they texted constantly. Good morning messages that arrived before her alarm. Photos of things he thought she'd find interesting, art pieces or historical artifacts with detailed explanations of their significance. Late-night conversations that stretched past midnight, Maya curled in her bed, typing responses while trying not to wake her grandmother. She was falling, hard and fast and completely. Her coworkers noticed. Jessica teased her mercilessly about the gorgeous, mysterious man who'd become a cafe regular. Her manager started scheduling Maya for shifts that coincided with Dante's usual visiting hours. Even customers commented on the chemistry crackling between them, the way his eyes tracked her movement, the soft smile that appeared on his face whenever she approached his table. You're glowing, her grandmother observed one evening, watching Maya get ready for another date. Haven't seen you this happy in years, Mija. Maya signed quickly. He makes me feel alive, like the world is bigger than I thought. Just remember to protect your heart. Men like that, they have complicated lives. Maya knew. Dante had been nothing but honest about his world, the gray areas he operated in, the dangers that came with his territory. But he'd also been careful to keep those dangers far from her. Their dates were in public places, well-lit and safe. He never discussed business in detail, never brought violence into their conversations. The man she was getting to know was cultured, intelligent, surprisingly gentle. Until everything changed on a Tuesday afternoon. Maya was working the late shift, the cafe quiet with only a handful of customers studying or working on laptops. Dante had texted earlier saying he'd be late, tied up with business, but he'd try to stop by before closing. She'd saved him a chocolate croissant, setting it aside with the kind of casual intimacy that came from knowing someone's preferences without asking. At 7:30, 3 men entered the cafe. Maya's first instinct was pure muscle memory from the robbery, her body tensing, hands gripping the counter edge. But these men were different. Expensive suits, confident posture, no weapons visible, though she'd learned enough from Dante to know that didn't mean unarmed. The lead man approached the counter. He was in his 50s, silver hair perfectly styled, eyes that assessed Maya with cold calculation. "I'm looking for Dante Caruso," he said. His accent was East Coast, maybe New York. "I was told he frequents this establishment." Every instinct Maya had developed over 24 years of navigating the world without speaking was screaming warnings. She pulled out her phone and typed, "He's not here right now. When do you expect him?" "I don't know. He doesn't keep me informed of his schedule." The lie came easily. Dante had told her once, casually but with clear intent, that if anyone ever came looking for him, she should know nothing. Be helpful but unhelpful. Polite but uninformative. The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "You're Maya Martinez, correct? Dante's been spending quite a bit of time with you lately." Ice trickled down her spine. This stranger knowing her name, knowing about her relationship with Dante, it felt like violation. Like something private had been exposed to hostile scrutiny. She typed, "I don't discuss my personal life with strangers." "Of course not. How rude of me." He pulled out a card, setting it on the counter between them. "My name is Vincent Marchetti. I'm an associate of Dante's. When you see him, tell him I'd like to have a conversation. Soon." He left without ordering, his companions following like shadows. Maya waited until they were gone, until their black SUV had pulled away from the curb, before her hands started shaking. She called Dante immediately. His voice was tight when he answered. "Maya, what's wrong?" She typed rapidly, her fingers stumbling over keys. "3 men just came to the cafe looking for you." The leader said his name was Vincent Marchetti. "Left his card. Dante, I'm scared." "Who is he?" "Fuck!" She'd never heard him curse before. "Listen to me carefully. Lock the cafe doors right now. Don't let anyone else in. I'm 10 minutes away. Can you do that?" She nodded, then realized he couldn't see her. Typed, "Yes. Hurrying now." "Good. I'll be there soon. You're safe, Maya. I promise you're safe." She locked the doors with trembling hands, flipping the sign to close despite still having 90 minutes left on her shift. The remaining customers looked up in confusion. "Family emergency," she signed to them, the universal gesture for urgent. "Need to close early. Sorry." They left, grumbling but compliant, and Maya was alone. She texted her manager explaining the situation, received an understanding response, and then there was nothing to do but wait. Dante arrived in 8 minutes. He came through the back entrance, the one employees used, somehow having bypassed the lock. He found her behind the counter, still shaking, and pulled her immediately into his arms. "You're okay," he murmured against her hair. "You're okay. Did they touch you? Threaten you?" She shook her head against his chest, breathing in his scent, letting his solid presence ground her spiraling anxiety. After a long moment, she pulled back enough to type, "Who is Vincent Marchetti? Why was he looking for you?" Dante's expression was grim. "He's a problem I've been trying to avoid. Come on, we can't talk here. I'm taking you home. My shift is over. I'll handle it with your manager." His tone left no room for argument. In the car, Maya watched him drive with controlled precision, his jaw tight, one hand gripping the steering wheel while the other held hers. They didn't speak, the silence heavy with unasked questions and mounting tension. At her building, Dante parked but didn't immediately get out. "Vincent Marchetti runs the East Coast operations for the Marchetti family," he said quietly. "They're one of the major crime families operating out of New York. We've had territorial disputes in the past. I acquired something he wanted, refused to share the profit. He's been looking for leverage to force negotiation. Understanding crashed over Maya like cold water. And I'm leverage. He thinks you are." Dante's hand tightened on hers. "He's wrong. I won't let him touch you, Maya. Won't let him use you to get to me. But he knows about me now. Knows we're involved." Her typing was rapid, agitated. "That makes me a target." "Yes." He didn't sugarcoat it. "Which is why things are about to change. I need to keep you safe, and the cafe isn't secure enough. Neither is your apartment." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want you to come stay with me. At my home. It's protected, secured, monitored. No one gets in without my permission." He turned to face her fully. "I know it's fast. I know we've only been seeing each other for 3 weeks. But Maya, I can't risk your safety. I won't. Maya stared at him, her mind racing. Move in with Dante. Leave her grandmother, her apartment, her life? It was insane. Reckless. Everything her careful nature screamed against. But Vincent Marchetti knew her name. Knew where she worked. And if Dante's expression was any indication, the danger was real and immediate. She typed, "My grandmother. I can't leave her alone and vulnerable. She comes too. I have space. More than enough for both of you." He cupped her face gently. "I know this is asking a lot. But please, Maya, let me protect you. Both of you. For how long? Until I resolve the Marchetti situation. Could be days, could be weeks." His thumb brushed her cheekbone. "Or if you decide you want to stay longer, I'd welcome that too." The implication hung between them. This wasn't just about immediate protection. This was Dante asking her to take the next step, to integrate their lives in a way that would be impossible to easily undo. Maya thought about her grandmother's warnings, about the complications she'd been told would come with choosing a man like Dante, about how she was supposed to protect her heart, be careful, not rush into anything. Then she thought about Vincent Marchetti's cold eyes, about being alone and vulnerable in an apartment with locks that wouldn't stop someone truly determined, about Dante's fierce protectiveness and the way he looked at her like she was precious, worth defending. She typed, "I need to talk to my grandmother first. Explain the situation. She might not agree." "Of course. Do you want me to come up with you? Help explain?" Maya considered, then nodded. Her grandmother respected Dante, but this was asking a lot. Having him there to answer questions, to demonstrate his sincerity, might help. They found her grandmother in the kitchen, preparing dinner. She took one look at their faces and set down her knife. "What happened?" Maya signed rapidly, explaining about Vincent Marchetti, about the danger, about Dante's offer. Her grandmother's expression grew increasingly serious, her gaze shifting between Maya and Dante with assessing calculation. "This man who came to the cafe," she said finally, addressing Dante directly. "He's dangerous. Very." Dante didn't soften it. "The Marchettis don't make idle threats. If they've identified Maya as important to me, they'll use that information however benefits them most." "And you can protect her? Protect us?" "With my life." The words were simple, absolute. "My home is secure. I have people I trust who provide security. And I won't rest until the Marchetti situation is permanently resolved." Maya's grandmother studied him for a long moment. Then she looked at Maya. "You trust him, Mija?" Maya nodded without hesitation. "And you love him?" The question hung in the air. Maya's fingers froze over her phone. Did she love Dante? 3 weeks wasn't long enough to know for certain, was it? Except her heart was already answering, already certain in ways her mind hadn't caught up to yet. She typed slowly, "Yes, I think I do." Dante's sharp inhale was audible. His hand found hers, squeezing gently. Maya's grandmother sighed. "Then we pack. But Dante Caruso, if anything happens to my granddaughter, if she gets hurt because of your world, you'll answer to me." "Understood?" A ghost of a smile touched Dante's lips. "Understood completely, Senora. And I give you my word, nothing will happen to her. Not while I'm breathing." They packed quickly, Maya throwing clothes and essentials into a suitcase while her grandmother did the same. It felt surreal, abandoning their home on such short notice, but underneath the anxiety was something else. Anticipation, maybe, or the strange excitement of stepping fully into Dante's world instead of dancing around its edges. Dante made calls while they packed, his voice low and rapid in Italian. Arranging things, Maya assumed. Preparing his home for guests. Ensuring security measures were in place. An hour later, they were loading suitcases into Dante's Mercedes. The building that had been Maya's home for 3 years looked smaller in the rearview mirror as they pulled away. She felt her grandmother's hand find hers in the back seat, squeezing reassurance. "It's an adventure, Mija," her grandmother said softly. "We've had worse." They drove out of the city proper, into the hills where homes became estates and privacy was measured in acres rather than feet. Dante's property was gated, the entrance requiring both a code and biometric scan. Security cameras tracked their progress up a winding drive lined with mature trees. The house itself was stunning. Modern architecture blended with classical Italian influences, all clean lines and warm stone, floor-to-ceiling windows offering views of the city below. It was easily 5 times the size of Maya's entire apartment building. "Holy shit!" her grandmother breathed, forgetting herself. Dante smiled as he parked. "It's bigger than I need for just myself. I'm glad to have you both here." Inside was even more impressive. Marble floors, carefully curated art, furniture that was clearly expensive but somehow still inviting. A housekeeper appeared immediately, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes who Dante introduced as Rosa. "Rosa will help you get settled," Dante explained. "There are 2 guest suites on the 2nd floor, both with private bathrooms. Choose whichever you prefer. If you need anything, just ask Rosa or myself." He showed them around briefly. The kitchen that was bigger than Maya's entire apartment. The library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves that made her heart ache with longing. The living room with its massive fireplace and comfortable seating. The office he worked from, all dark wood and leather, with security monitors showing various angles of the property. Maya's grandmother chose the suite with eastern exposure, already mentally planning where to put her things. That left Maya with the suite that, as Rosa explained while Dante took a phone call, shared a connecting door with the master bedroom. "Mr. Caruso had me prepare this room specifically for you," Rosa said with a knowing smile. "But he wanted me to make very clear that the connecting door has a lock on your side. Your privacy is completely respected." He'd flooded Maya's face. She typed, "That was thoughtful of him. He's a good man." Rosa's expression was sincere. "I've worked for him for 5 years. Seen him in all kinds of situations. He's never brought a woman here before. You must be very special." The words settled warm in Maya's chest. She was the first woman Dante had brought to his home. The first he'd opened this part of his life to. The significance wasn't lost on her. After Rosa left, Maya explored the suite. It was beautiful, decorated in soft creams and blues, with a bathroom that had a tub large enough to swim in and a shower with more settings than she could count. French doors opened onto a private balcony overlooking gardens, lit by strategically placed lights. The connecting door to Dante's room beckoned. Maya touched the handle, tempted, then drew back. They'd been dating 3 weeks. Kissing, yes. Plenty of heated moments that left her breathless and wanting. But they hadn't crossed that final line yet, and doing so now, under these circumstances, felt complicated. A knock on the main door interrupted her thoughts. Dante stood in the hallway, having changed into jeans and a soft sweater that made him look younger, more approachable. "Is everything okay? Do you need anything?" His eyes searched her face with genuine concern. She pulled out her phone. "Everything's perfect. The room is beautiful. Too beautiful. I feel like I shouldn't touch anything." "Touch everything." He stepped inside, his presence filling the space. "This is your home now, Maya. For however long you need it to be. I want you comfortable." "Dante." She typed slowly, choosing words carefully. "This is a lot. The house, the protection, bringing my grandmother. I don't know how to process it all." "Then don't process it yet." He moved closer, his hands gentle on her shoulders. "Just be here. Be safe. Let me take care of the Marchetti situation while you focus on normal things. Your job, your classes, your life. I don't want this to consume you." "But it already has." She gestured around the suite. "My entire life just changed in the span of a few hours. How do I pretend that's normal?" "You don't. You adapt. Like you've been adapting your whole life." His thumb brushed her cheek. "You're one of the strongest people I've ever met, Maya. You'll handle this too." She wanted to believe him, wanted to let his confidence anchor her spiraling uncertainty. Instead, she asked the question that had been building since the cafe. "What are you going to do about Vincent Marchetti?" Dante's expression shuddered slightly. "Nothing you need to worry about. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give you right now." He was gentle but firm. "There are parts of my world I need to keep separate from you, Maya. Not because I don't trust you, but because I need you to maintain plausible deniability. To be safe from legal consequences if things go wrong." Understanding crashed over her. "You're going to do something illegal. I'm going to resolve a problem." He wouldn't confirm or deny. "And when it's done, you'll be safe. That's all that matters to me." Maya wanted to argue, to demand full honesty, to insist on being treated like a partner rather than someone to be protected. But she could see the determination in his eyes, the set of his jaw that said this wasn't negotiable. She typed, "Promise me you'll be careful, that you won't take unnecessary risks." "I promise." He kissed her forehead gently. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we'll establish a new routine. Figure out how to make this work." After he left, Maya sat on the edge of the bed, her mind racing. The room was silent except for the faint sound of water in the pipes, her grandmother settling into her own suite. Through the balcony doors, the city glittered in the distance, beautiful and indifferent to the drama unfolding in these hills. She thought about texting Dante, about crossing through that connecting door and demanding to be included in whatever he was planning. But exhaustion was pulling at her, the day's stress catching up all at once. Instead, she changed into pajamas, washed her face, and climbed into the most comfortable bed she'd ever experienced. The sheets were Egyptian cotton, soft as clouds. The pillows were perfect, supporting her head at exactly the right angle. She should have fallen asleep immediately. Instead, she lay awake, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of an unfamiliar house, wondering what Dante was doing on the other side of that connecting door. Wondering if he was lying awake too, thinking about her. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dante. "Sleep well, Bella. You're safe here. I won't let anything happen to you." She typed back, "I know. Good night, Dante." "Good night, Maya. Sweet dreams." She fell asleep holding her phone, his last message still glowing on the screen, and dreamed of gray eyes and dangerous promises, and a life that had become impossibly complicated in the space of 3 perfect weeks. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Morning arrived with golden light streaming through the balcony doors and the smell of coffee drifting from downstairs. Maya woke disoriented, needing several seconds to remember where she was. Dante's house, Dante's guest suite, her new temporary reality. She found her grandmother already in the kitchen, chatting with Rosa in a mixture of Spanish and English while helping prepare breakfast. The scene was so domestic, so normal, that Maya felt something in her chest ease slightly. "Mija," her grandmother smiled. "Come eat. Rosa makes the best huevos rancheros you've ever tasted." Maya joined them, accepting a plate piled with food and a cup of coffee made exactly how she liked it. How had Rosa known? Then she realized Dante must have told her. The small consideration made warmth spread through her chest. "Mr. Caruso left early for business," Rosa explained, noticing Maya's searching glance. "But he said to tell you he'll be back by afternoon and to make yourself at home. Use the library, the gardens, whatever you'd like." The day stretched ahead with unfamiliar emptiness. Maya was supposed to work at the cafe, but Dante had texted her manager last night explaining a family emergency. She had no shifts at the bakery for 3 days. No classes this week. Nothing to do but exist in this beautiful house and try not to think about Vincent Marchetti or what Dante might be doing to resolve the problem. Her grandmother seemed to sense her restlessness. "Why don't you explore? This house is amazing, and that library looked like your idea of heaven." She was right. Maya spent the morning in Dante's library, running her fingers over spines, pulling down volumes on art history and Italian Renaissance, losing herself in the familiar comfort of books. Many were in Italian, which she couldn't read, but enough were in English to keep her occupied for months. She found a first edition of a book on Caravaggio that she'd only ever seen referenced in her art history classes, settled into a leather chair by the window and lost herself in analysis of light and shadow, of violence and beauty captured on canvas. That's where Dante found her hours later. "I had a feeling you'd end up here," he said from the doorway, his expression soft. He'd changed from the suit he must have worn for business into casual clothes, but there was tension in his shoulders, a tightness around his eyes that suggested the meeting hadn't gone well. Maya set down the book. "Is everything okay?" "Getting there." He moved into the room, settling on the arm of her chair. Close but not crowding. "How are you? How was your first night?" She pulled out her phone. "Strange. Comfortable but strange. I kept waking up forgetting where I was." "That will pass. In a few days. This will feel normal. His hand found hers, thumb tracing circles on her palm. I spoke with your manager at the cafe. Explained that you're dealing with a family situation and might need a couple weeks off. She was very understanding. A couple weeks? Maya's typing was rapid. Dante, I can't afford to not work for that long. You won't lose income. His tone was firm. I'll make sure of it. I don't want your money. The words came out sharper than she intended. I want to work. Want to feel useful. Then work from here. Take some of her classes online. Read. Study. He gestured to the library around them. All of this is yours to use, Maya. And when the Marchetti situation is resolved, you can go back to the cafe if that's what you want. But right now, I need you somewhere I know you're safe. She wanted to argue. Wanted to insist on maintaining her independence, her own income, her life separate from his influence. But she could see the strain in his face, the genuine worry beneath his controlled exterior. She typed, "What happened in your meeting today? Complications." He didn't elaborate, but nothing you need to concern yourself with. Stop protecting me from information. Her typing was sharp, frustrated. I'm not fragile, Dante. I can handle the truth. He studied her for a long moment, then sighed. Vincent Marchetti wants a meeting. Face to face, just him and me, to discuss terms. It's a trap, obviously a trap, but refusing outright would be seen as weakness, which creates its own problems. He rubbed his face tiredly. I'm trying to find a middle ground that doesn't get me killed while still resolving the situation. I slid down Maya's spine. Killed? Dante, if it's that dangerous, it's always that dangerous. He said it matter-of-factly. This is my world, Maya. Has been since I was 20. I know how to navigate it. That doesn't make me less terrified for you. Something shifted in his expression. Softened. You're terrified for me? Of course I am. She typed rapidly. You're talking about walking into a trap. About people who want to hurt you. How am I supposed to not be terrified? Dante pulled her up from the chair, into his arms, holding her with fierce tenderness. I'll be careful. I have people I trust watching my back. And I have something I've never had before during these negotiations. What's that? Someone to come home to. He pulled back enough to look at her face. Someone who'd be terrified if I didn't. That changes things, Maya. Makes me more careful, more strategic, because I'm not just protecting myself anymore. I'm protecting what we're building together. Maya's throat felt tight with emotion she couldn't voice. She pressed her face against his chest, feeling his heartbeat steady and strong, and let herself imagine a future where this was normal, where coming home to each other was routine rather than precious. The next few days settled into a strange new rhythm. Dante left early most mornings for meetings he didn't detail. Maya split her time between the library, online coursework she'd been behind on, and helping Rosa in the kitchen. Her grandmother had somehow charmed Dante's entire security team, learning their names and histories, treating them like family rather than hired protection. Your grandmother is remarkable, Dante observed one evening, watching through the window as she laughed with Marco, one of the security guards, while he showed her the garden. She's always been like that. Makes friends everywhere. Maya typed from her position, curled on the couch beside him. I think it's because she genuinely likes people. Sees the best in everyone. Even in me. Especially in you. She met his eyes. She told me this morning that you remind her of my grandfather. Said he was complicated too, but had a good heart underneath all the armor. I hope I'm worthy of the comparison. You are. Maya's typing was certain. You've been nothing but kind to her. To both of us. Even when dealing with all this other stress. Dante's arm tightened around her shoulders. They'd been spending evenings like this, curled together on the couch, watching old movies or just talking. Physical intimacy building gradually, naturally. Kisses that deepened but didn't rush. Touches that promised more but respected boundaries. It was torture and perfect in equal measure. I spoke with my contacts today, Dante said after a moment, about the Marchetti situation. There might be a resolution coming soon. What kind of resolution? The kind where I give Vincent something he wants in exchange for him forgetting you exist. He said it lightly, but Maya heard the tension underneath. He's been trying to acquire a specific artifact. Renaissance bronze, extremely rare. I know where it is and who has it, If I facilitate the acquisition, he'll consider our territorial dispute settled. And you trust him to keep his word? No. Dante's laugh was hollow. But I trust that once he has what he wants, harassing you becomes more trouble than it's worth. Especially if I make it very clear that touching you would start a war he can't afford. Maya thought about that. About Dante negotiating with criminals, trading in stolen art, operating in spaces where violence was currency and trust was a liability. This was his normal, his everyday reality, and she was choosing to be part of it. When is this meeting happening? 2 days from now. Neutral territory, plenty of witnesses, as safe as these things get. He touched her face gently. And when it's done, you can go back to your life. The cafe, your apartment, whatever you want. What if I don't want to go back? The question escaped before Maya could stop it. Dante went very still. What are you saying? She typed slowly, choosing each word carefully. I'm saying that the last week, living here with you, it's felt right. More right than my apartment ever did. And I know it's fast. I know we haven't been together long. But Dante, I don't want to go back to pretending we have separate lives. Maya. Her name was rough in his throat. Are you sure? Because once you make that choice, once you fully integrate into my world, it's hard to walk away. The complications don't disappear. They multiply. I'm sure. And she was. Absolutely certain in a way that defied logic or caution. I want this. Want us. Want whatever we're building, complications and all. He kissed her then, deep and claiming, his hands tangling in her hair. Maya kissed back with equal fervor, pouring 3 weeks of building desire into the contact. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. Stay with me tonight, he said quietly. In my room. We don't have to do anything you're not ready for. I just want you close. Maya's heart hammered. She nodded, unable to type, unable to do anything but feel the rightness of this moment. They told her grandmother they were going to bed early. Her knowing smile said she understood exactly what that meant, but she just kissed Maya's forehead and told her to be happy. Dante's room was as beautiful as the rest of the house. Masculine but not cold, with dark furniture and soft lighting, windows overlooking the gardens. The bed dominated the space, massive and inviting. I'll give you privacy to change, Dante said, gesturing to the bathroom. Unless you want me to stay. He'd flooded Maya's face. She shook her head, disappearing into the bathroom with her pajamas. When she emerged, Dante had changed too, wearing only sleep pants that hung low on his hips, revealing a torso that was lean and muscled, a canvas of controlled strength. He pulled back the covers, inviting her in. Maya climbed into bed, hyper-aware of his proximity as he settled beside her. The sheets were cool, expensive, just like the ones in her guest room. But this felt different, intimate in a way that had nothing to do with the physical and everything to do with trust. Come here, Dante murmured, opening his arms. Maya went willingly, curling against his side, her head on his chest. She could hear his heartbeat, steady and strong, feel the rise and fall of his breathing, smell the scent of him, cologne and something uniquely Dante. Is this okay? His hand stroked her hair gently. She nodded against his chest, then reached for her phone on the nightstand. It's perfect. You're perfect. Far from perfect. His voice rumbled through his chest. But with you I want to be better. Want to deserve what you're offering. You already do. They lay in comfortable silence, Maya's fingers tracing idle patterns on his chest while his hand continued its soothing motion through her hair. The intimacy was overwhelming in the best way. Not sexual, though desire simmered underneath. Just close, connected, real. Maya, Dante said after a while, I need you to know something. She pulled back enough to see his face, her expression questioning. I'm falling in love with you. The words were simple, absolute. Have been since you refused to delete that photograph of yourself, since you challenged me instead of just complying. Since I watched you be brave during that robbery, even though you were terrified. You're extraordinary, and I'm falling completely, irrevocably in love with you. Tears pricked Maya's eyes. She grabbed her phone, typing rapidly. I love you too. I think I have for weeks, but was afraid to say it. Afraid it was too soon, too fast, To everything. But Dante, I love you. Completely. He kissed her then, slow and thorough, tasting like promise and forever. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright with emotion. After the Marchetti meeting, after everything is settled, I want you to move in properly. Not as my guest, but as my partner. I want you here permanently, if you'll have me. Yes. She didn't need to think about it. Yes, I want that too. They made love that night with exquisite tenderness. Dante was patient, careful, checking in constantly to make sure she was comfortable, that she wanted this. Maya had never felt more cherished, more seen, more completely connected to another person. Afterward, wrapped in his arms with her body humming with satisfaction, she thought about how drastically her life had changed in 4 weeks. From quiet barista to the woman in Dante Caruso's bed. From careful and controlled to recklessly in love with a man who operated outside the law. Her grandmother had warned her about complications, about the dangers of Dante's world, about protecting her heart. But lying here, listening to Dante's breathing even out into sleep, Maya knew she'd make the same choices again. The complications were worth it. The danger was worth it. Because love, real love, the kind that made you feel seen and cherished and complete, that was worth everything. She fell asleep with his arms around her, feeling safer than she'd ever felt before, completely unaware that the real danger was just beginning. The morning of Dante's meeting with Vincent Marchetti arrived with unseasonable cold. Maya woke alone, Dante's side of the bed already cool, though she could hear the shower running in the bathroom. She lay still, processing the significance of the day, trying not to let anxiety overwhelm her. Dante emerged from the bathroom in a cloud of steam, a towel wrapped around his hips, water droplets tracing paths down his chest. Despite her nerves, heat pooled low in Maya's belly at the sight of him. "Good morning, Bella." He sat on the edge of the bed, leaning down to kiss her thoroughly. "How did you sleep?" She reached for her phone. "Better than I should have considering what today is." "Are you nervous?" "Cautious." He stood, moving to his closet. Vincent Marchetti is predictable in his unpredictability. He'll try something, some move I'm not expecting. But I have contingencies in place. Maya watched him dress in a charcoal suit, noting the shoulder holster he strapped on, the way he checked his weapon with practiced efficiency. This was the other side of Dante. The dangerous side. The part of him that operated in violence and threat. She should have been frightened. Instead, she felt something else. Pride, maybe. Or the fierce protectiveness of knowing this man, this complicated, dangerous, beautiful man was hers. "What time is the meeting?" "Noon." Neutral location. A restaurant in Little Italy that's been around for 70 years. Plenty of witnesses. Public enough that overt violence would be stupid. He finished dressing, turning to face her. "I'll have Marco and Dante with me, positioned strategically. And I've arranged for additional backup if things go wrong." "And if they do go wrong?" He crossed back to the bed, cupping her face gently. "Then I fight my way out and come home to you. That's my only priority, Maya. Coming home." She pulled him down for a kiss, trying to pour all her fear and love and hope into the contact. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. "I love you," she typed. "Be careful. Come back to me. Always." He kissed her forehead. "I love you too, Maya Martinez. More than I thought I could love anyone." After Dante left, Maya tried to distract herself. She helped Rosa in the kitchen, attempted to read in the library, started an assignment for one of her online classes. Nothing worked. Her mind kept circling back to Dante, to the meeting, to all the ways things could go catastrophically wrong. Her grandmother found her pacing in the library at 11:30. "You're going to wear a hole in that beautiful rug, Mija." Maya signed rapidly. "I can't stop thinking about what might happen. What if Vincent Marchetti tries something? What if Dante gets hurt? Then we deal with it." Her grandmother's voice was calm, steady. "But worrying won't change anything. Dante knows what he's doing. You have to trust that." "I do trust him. I'm just terrified anyway." "That's love, Mija. It makes you vulnerable. Makes you care about someone else's safety more than your own comfort." She pulled Maya into a hug. "But that vulnerability is also what makes it beautiful. What makes it worth having." Maya clung to her grandmother, drawing strength from her solid presence. They stayed like that for a long moment before her grandmother pulled back. Now Rosa is making lunch. Come eat. Keeping your strength up is productive. Pacing is not. Maya tried to eat, managing a few bites of the pasta Rosa had prepared. The clock seemed to move both too fast and too slow, minutes dragging while hours flew by. Noon came and went. 12:30, 1 o'clock. Her phone stayed silent. At 1:45, it finally buzzed. A text from Dante. Meeting concluded. On my way home. I'm fine. Love you. Relief flooded through Maya so intensely she had to sit down. Her grandmother read the message over her shoulder and squeezed her arm. See, I told you to trust him. Dante arrived home at 2:15, and Maya met him at the door. He looked tired but unharmed, his suit jacket slung over one shoulder, tie loosened. When he saw her, his expression softened into something beautiful. Hey, he said simply. Maya launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck, pressing her face against his shoulder. He caught her easily, one arm banding around her waist, the other hand coming up to cradle the back of her head. I'm okay, he murmured against her hair. Everything's okay. She pulled back enough to type. What happened? Did he agree to your terms? Let me change first, then I'll explain everything. He kissed her forehead. But yes, it's over. The Marchetti situation is resolved. They settled in the living room, Dante having changed into comfortable clothes, a glass of whiskey in his hand that he sipped slowly. Maya curled beside him on the couch, her grandmother in the chair opposite, both waiting for his explanation. Vincent accepted my offer, Dante began. I'll facilitate the acquisition of the bronze he wants. He forgets Maya exists, and our territorial dispute is considered settled. He took another sip, but there was a complication. Maya's stomach dropped. What complication? He wanted proof that I could deliver. Wanted to see authentication documents, provenance history, the whole chain of custody. Dante's expression was grim. Which means I need to actually acquire the piece first, then hand it over to him. And how long will that take? 2 weeks, maybe 3. The current owner is in Florence, and negotiations will be delicate. He set down his glass, taking Maya's hand. Which means you'll need to stay here a bit longer. Just until the transfer is complete, and Vincent has no reason to use you as leverage. Maya thought about that. 3 more weeks in this house, in Dante's bed, living the strange new life that felt both foreign and right. 3 more weeks before having to decide about the cafe, her apartment, her old normal. Okay, she typed. But Dante, I need to work. Need to feel useful. Can I at least do some shifts at the cafe? With security, obviously. He considered, then nodded slowly. Limited hours. Marco or Dante with you at all times. And if I even suspect Vincent is trying something, you stop immediately. Deal. Her grandmother had been quiet, watching them negotiate. Now she spoke up. This is your normal, isn't it? These dangerous negotiations, these complicated situations. Yes, Dante admitted, though having someone I care about involved is new. Usually I only have to worry about my own safety. And now I'm more careful, more strategic, because I have something precious to protect. His hand tightened on Maya's. I won't let anything happen to her, Senora. That's a promise. Maya's grandmother studied him for a long moment, then nodded, apparently satisfied with what she saw. The next 3 weeks passed in a strange suspension of normal time. Maya returned to the cafe for limited shifts, always with Marco or Dante stationed nearby, their presence both reassuring and a constant reminder of the danger lurking in the background. Regular customers noticed, asked questions she deflected with practiced vagueness. Jessica pulled her aside one day. Are you okay? You've had bodyguards for weeks now. And that man, Dante, he's here every day just watching you. It's intense, Maya. Kind of romantic, but also intense. Maya typed her response. It's complicated, but I'm safe. That's what matters. Are you in some kind of trouble? It's being handled. Don't worry about me. But Jessica did worry, her concerned glances tracking Maya throughout shifts. Even the manager seemed more watchful, though she didn't ask direct questions. At home, Maya's relationship with Dante deepened. They fell into easy domesticity, cooking dinner together, watching old movies, making love with increasing familiarity and continued passion. Her grandmother had fully integrated into the household, treating Dante's home like her own, charming his security team and Rosa with equal effectiveness. "This could be your life," Dante said one evening, watching Maya read in the library. "Permanently. If you want it." She looked up, studying his face. "You're serious about me moving in fully?" "Completely serious." He set down his own book, giving her his full attention. "I know we've only been together a month, but Maya, I've never been more certain of anything. I want you here. Want to wake up beside you every morning. Want to build a life together. My grandmother has a home here too, for as long as she wants. This house is too big for just me anyway." He moved to sit beside her. "I'm not asking you to give up your independence or your dreams. Keep working, finish school, pursue whatever makes you happy. Just do it from here, with me." Maya thought about her tiny apartment, the life she'd built on careful budgeting and constant vigilance. Thought about the cafe and the bakery, and the grinding exhaustion of juggling multiple jobs to make ends meet. Then thought about waking up in Dante's arms, having space to study in this beautiful library, not worrying about rent or utilities, or whether she could afford textbooks. It should have felt like giving up, like taking the easy path. Instead, it felt like choosing happiness, choosing love, choosing a partner who wanted to support her dreams instead of limiting them. "Yes," she typed. "Yes, I want to stay. Want to build a life with you. All of it." Dante's smile was brilliant. He pulled her into his arms, kissing her thoroughly, and Maya felt something settle into place in her chest. This was right. They were right. On the day Dante was scheduled to hand over the bronze to Vincent Marchetti, Maya insisted on going with him. "Absolutely not," Dante said flatly. "You stay here where it's safe. I'll go crazy waiting for you to come home." She typed rapidly. "And if something goes wrong, I want to know immediately, not sit here wondering." "Maya, please. I'll stay in the car with Marco. I won't even get out. But I need to be there. Need to know you're okay in real time." He argued for another 20 minutes before finally, reluctantly conceding. They drove to the meeting location, an abandoned warehouse near the docks, in a convoy of 3 vehicles. Maya rode with Marco, Dante in the lead car with the security team. The exchange was supposed to be simple. Dante would verify the bronze's authenticity, Vincent would verify payment, they'd make the trade and part ways. Clean, professional, mutually beneficial. Maya watched through tinted windows as Dante emerged from his car, carrying a carefully wrapped package. Vincent Marchetti was already there, flanked by 4 men who looked like they ate violence for breakfast. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. Papers were exchanged. The bronze was unwrapped and inspected. Vincent nodded, apparently satisfied. Then everything went wrong. Vincent's men drew weapons simultaneously. Maya's scream caught silent in her throat as Dante dove behind a crate. Gunfire erupted, deafening even through the car windows. Marco was already moving, weapon drawn, but Maya grabbed his arm. She pointed frantically at Dante, then at herself, signing desperately. "You want to help him?" Marco's eyes widened. "Miss Martinez, I can't." She was already out of the car, running toward the chaos. Stupid, reckless, completely insane. But Dante was pinned down, outnumbered, and she couldn't just watch. She signed to him from across the warehouse, the universal gesture for "behind you" that she'd seen in movies. Dante's head whipped around, just as one of Vincent's men tried flanking him. He fired, the man dropped. Vincent saw her then. His expression shifted from anger to calculation. He grabbed her before Marco could intervene, pressing a gun to her temple. "Caruso! Drop your weapon, or she dies." Everything froze. Dante's face went white with fury and fear. Maya didn't think. She went limp, dead weight in Vincent's arms. He stumbled, his grip loosening, just enough. She drove her elbow into his ribs exactly like Dante had taught her during their movie nights, demonstrating self-defense, moves she'd laughingly practiced. Vincent's gun hand dropped. Dante's shot was instantaneous, precise, hitting Vincent's shoulder. The older man collapsed, screaming. "Federal agents! Everyone down!" The FBI flooded in from all directions. Apparently Dante had been working with them for months, providing information on the Marchetti operations in exchange for immunity. The whole Bronze acquisition had been a sting operation. Later, after statements and paperwork and Marco sheepishly admitting he'd been instructed to let Maya escape if she tried because Dante knew she'd do something reckless, they finally made it home. "You could have been killed," Dante said, pulling her against him in their bedroom. She typed, "So could you. That's why I had to help. You're insane. Brave and insane and absolutely perfect." He kissed her thoroughly. "Marry me." Maya pulled back, eyes wide. "I'm serious. Marry me, Maya Martinez. Be my wife. My partner in everything, including apparently running into active gunfights to save my life." She typed with shaking fingers. "Yes. Yes, absolutely yes." 6 months later, they married in the garden, her grandmother beaming, Rosa crying happy tears. The cafe staff attended, Jessica as Maya's maid of honor. Even Marco the bodyguard got emotional during the vows. Maya signed, "I love you," as Dante slipped the ring on her finger. He signed it back, the gesture he'd learned just for her, and kissed her as his wife. Sometimes the best love stories started with danger. With a robbery that brought two worlds colliding. With a mute girl who found her voice through silence, and a mafia boss who found his heart through her courage. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love the story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.